Grand River, high above the gorge, this is the Buzzer Pod. New releases, industry insiders, out-of-the-box conversations, indie music. With guests from the true north, to the west coast, to the east coast, and across the pond and down under. And now, here's Shay.
Hey, Shay here. And so it begins, the Buzzer Pod On Air Indie, our first episode. Welcome and enjoy. What happened today in 1969? January 12, 1969, the rock gods Led Zeppelin released their self-entitled debut studio album in the United States. They produced the album prior to signing to a label. Indie. Cool, eh? The band on today are Toronto-based rock band One in the Chamber. The band's sound is their own, yet like Zeppelin, they push the limits, challenge standards, and pull out all the stops in making music. What they put out is fantastic. Mike Biase, lead singer and guitar, and drummer Gerrod Harris are here today. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Shay. How are you?
I'm glad to have you on and welcome, and I'm doing great. Guys, whenever I hear your music, I see a ton of different influences and not traditional. The music is being created from somewhere. And I'd like to have you discuss that and talk about that and sort of give us an idea of where you draw your inspiration from.
Oh, I mean, that's a tough question, I think. And I think the four of us would all answer that very differently. We all come from very different backgrounds. Speaking for myself, I grew up listening to a ton of classic rock, groups like Led Zeppelin, Van Halen, Aerosmith, the Rolling Stones. But as I actually started playing the drums, it was, a large amount of like 90s rock bands, Soundgarden, Red Hot Chili Peppers, bands like that really got me diving deeper into my instrument.
Yeah, for myself, Led Zeppelin 100% is one of my biggest influences. Robert Plant is probably one of my favorite singers, if not my favorite. Jimmy Page, amazing guitar player. And them and really old blues. I've loved Eric Clapton blues, Jimi Hendrix, anything by Muddy Waters, and the Three Kings. Especially for guitar playing, the Three Kings were a huge influence on me learning guitar.
Definitely have strong vocals. Reminds me a lot of a young Robert Plant. Your sound is unique. There's something about it that sets it apart from a lot of other rock bands. Can you give me some insight into that?
Man, that's tough.
I think Cecil is so unique in the way he approaches songwriting. Cecil's our lead guitar player and one of our vocalists, and he even writes a lot of lyrics for a lot of our songs. And I find that because he comes from such a jazzy background, he brings this influence in our music that is so outside of just conventional rock and roll that, especially in To the Gallows, when he played that opening riff, and it just sounded so off and so creepy. It just inspired the lyrics that you hear, and it just takes me on a different journey than when I hear the way that I write music. I find very traditional riff rock. What do you think, Jerry?
I have to say Mike said it best. Cecil, earlier I said the four of us would probably answer influences very differently, and Mike and I are probably most the same aligned page. Yeah. When it comes to like what we're listening to and stuff. There's a good chance if Mike's listening to it, I'm listening to it. But Cecil is like all over the place. He likes things that you would never expect a rock guitarist to like, and he dislikes things that you would not expect a rock guitar player to like. And Cecil and I met in jazz school at York University, of all places, to start a rock band. And he had already met Mike by that point. And yeah, I think Cecil brings like this quirky, this unorthodox sort of color or tone. I don't even know what to put it, how to phrase it, but he brings this like interesting vibe that just you don't hear in a lot of rock music, I would say. And
Absolutely.
I mean, to then go in like the complete opposite direction, our bassist Christian Dotto is a huge metalhead.
Yeah.
The band closed its 2019 summer tour in front of a sold-out Indie Week festival where you opened for the Wildabouts. It was an awesome end of the summer. What band, if you had to dream, would be your ultimate band to open a show for?
Oh, wow. You know what? We have gotten to open.
Yeah.
We have got to open for some pretty cool bands. Opening for Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts is definitely one of the highlights of our
100%
musical career. But if we could open for any current band, that's tough.
Like,
man.
are we talking like legacy bands that are still at it? Are we talking?
You know what? I think Crownland is one of.
Yeah, you know what? I would put Crownlands.
Yeah, for sure.
I would say Crownlands is a big one.
Yeah, Crownlands opening. I mean, for something like the Foo Fighters would be really cool. But you know what? I saw the Rolling Stones last summer, and it was one of the best days of my life. I will not lie. That was one of the best moments of my life. So I would definitely say the Rolling Stones. Hey, you know what? I saw Alice Cooper and Motley Crue together.
Okay, yeah, that was a great show.
If we ever got to open for Alice Cooper or Motley Crue, I think we'd be right at home there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what would be your dream project? Like if your band could do anything you wanted to, what would be the dream project for you?
If we could get our music to, I guess, finance a trip around the world to show off our music, that would be cool. I mean, around the world might be a little far out there, but if we could take our music and make money to finance a trip around the States or to go to a small place in Europe and do a couple of shows, I think that would be really cool.
I have to agree with Mike. I think doing something like that and being able to like successfully do it would be fantastic.
And obviously we can't travel right now, but I love traveling. So if our music could help us travel and share our music, I guess, and perform, which is my favorite part about being in a band, then that would be a great project.
While you're getting attention, just look at your Spotify. You have listeners in 60 countries, so it might not be far off.
Yeah, that number always astounds me too.
It's great. Yeah,
we always looking at the Spotify numbers for the year. It's like, oh,
yeah, and hearing from different people on our social media accounts and who reach out to us from all over the world to do interviews and talk. It's very humbling and it's really cool. It's a really cool feeling.
So do the lyrics in your song come from personal experiences? Like, where did you draw your inspirations from?
I mean, for me, I try to, other than some of our songs where I write from a very fantastical point of view, a lot of our songs come from direct experiences I've had in my life. So Bills to Pay, for example, Bills to Pay was our first song we did a music video for. So maybe our first single. And I wrote that song years before we were in a band. The whole second verse is basically a true story about crashing my car. And the first verse about trying to come up with different weird ways to make money is where those lyrics come from. So, and then different life experiences help influence different lyrics that I come up with.
Yeah, I don't know how to add to that. I just play the drums, and my life experiences for that. I just love making music, and I think I'm very fortunate to have the chance to make music with such a great group of musicians. And for myself, I always try to bring like a sense of groove to it.
A sense of groove.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'll take modern drummer first.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, the band gets lots of radio play and international coverage, actually, and is on Loudwire's Weekly Wire Spotify playlists. How do you feel about that?
That one was all. Right now, we're working with a fantastic PR agent, Allison, from the label group. She is, she's got a fantastic ear, and I've known her for years because I review bands and stuff like that. And for years, she's been sending me bands to review, and so I've known her for a bit now. And when we started putting out music, she started listening and talking to us about that stuff. And the Loudwire thing goes out to her because she did such a fantastic job of getting that. But yeah, we were all incredibly excited.
Absolutely.
I think Loudwire is probably one of, if not the biggest like hard rock metal blog magazine.
Absolutely. Something that all of us follow.
Yeah, it's kind of like a badge of honor, a big check mark on the resume or whatever you want to put it as, right?
Oh, it definitely is. That's why I mentioned it. So, how do you interact and respond to fans? Like, what do you connect with them and engage on social media? Do you send out newsletters, updates from your site? Like, how do you guys go about it?
I mean, we're pretty active on social media, mostly Facebook and Instagram. We've got a mailing list that's on our website as well, and we're not too active on that. Maybe once or twice a month at most, like even once a month at most, right? Like if there's something new coming, for sure.
Yeah, we're very good about like Gerrod is fantastic at keeping up with anybody who contacts us. He always gets back to very quickly. And we always try, at least I hope people feel this about us, but we try to be available when we're at live shows to talk to whoever wants to come up to us. And we did an event in Mississauga last year where we got to meet fans and talk to people about our music and different projects we're doing. And yeah, we try to keep ourselves as available as possible.
Yeah, I think building off of that, like the Toronto music community is, there's so many great musicians involved that we've made a lot of great friends through doing this and through playing live. And we've gone on to play shows with them and kind of do that, which has always been very exciting for us.
Do you hang out with the fans after the concerts?
Absolutely.
An unofficial one, I guess so. Yeah, we like to hang around and we watch the other bands play, and we're always happy to talk to people and stuff. It's always, I think Mike agrees with me on this one, but like when people bring stuff like, or they buy a CD and they're like, "Hey, can you sign it?" We're always like,
absolutely.
You want our signature? Like it's we'll definitely do it, but it's like, do you want us to sign it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So nobody's perfect. Do you make mistakes when you perform? And if you do, how do you handle it?
I mean, I make mistakes constantly when we perform. I kind of like move around so much and I'm like jumping around. I pretty much, I just keep going.
Yeah, I think,
if I stumble over a word or I stumble over Cecil's patch cord into the, I just try and keep it going and just, keep playing.
I think that's, for all of us. And, half the time I don't even hear when any of us or myself are making a mistake. It's just so loud. And, afterwards someone will be like, "Oh yeah, I did this in this song." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Well, sometimes mistakes become iconic, like the smashing of guitars. That became a thing. So, of course, the band has had to cancel their tour due to the pandemic. How did you guys adjust? Like, how did you rethink things and that? Because I've seen a lot of action, a lot of positive things happening. So I know that Gerrod and that you rethought things. So what did you do?
It was You know what? It's tough to manage a band in a regular year, and it's an entirely different monster in a pandemic year. So for us, we were in the studio recording in January, February before all this happened, and Blow was scheduled to release in at the end of March, early April, just like how it did. But we were going to have a single release party at Sneaky D's in Toronto, and that was obviously canceled. But the release came out on as planned, and we had a couple of dates that were more or less booked for the spring to follow up with, and then obviously those were canceled. And for us, we've been planning 2020 for so long that, it was in 2019 that we found out we got a factor grant. And, that's when we were like, okay, we're going to go back in the studio and this is how we're going to roll out the new music. And, we just released our second single, To the Gallows, like 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And for us, the original plan was to have a second single, an entirely different song than To the Gallows, which was supposed to come out in May or June. So, everything has been kind of delayed and pushed back. And the amount of times that the plan has changed, even within like a couple weeks, is crazy. And, I think we've done a really good job of staying on top of it. We managed to put out 2 singles, 2 music videos, and we did a couple of live stream shows, and, the Spotify numbers were incredible this year. A significant improvement from last year.
Yeah, good growth.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've bounced around and kind of rolled with it and turned around something. And it turned out well,
I think we were ultimately just very lucky that we were sitting on new music that was already recorded before the EP. Like, we were in a good position that even though shows were canceled, we weren't scrambling to figure out how we can move forward.
So talk about some of the ideas and things that you have done to keep moving forward with your music.
I recently read Ari Herstand's book, How to Make It in the New Music Industry. So we are trying out the new transparent sort of attitude that he talks about. I read it, and he was saying that people where social media is so ever present, they're like, gone are the days of the mysterious image of like Bowie and Prince, where you can just be this figure that was weird and no one knew what you were up to. And, it's really hard to have something like that in today's day and age where you're digital all the time. And, the book talked a lot about this idea that, if artists are more transparent and, just kind of open and honest with like their audience, it works for a really sort of successful model of business, I guess. And, I had recently started talking to Phil Freeman from Small Town Titans, and they're a fantastic band out of Pennsylvania. And, they put out an amazing album this year. They have a very similar sort of stance. So I think, especially with the pandemic, the way the whole industry has shut down, a level of authenticity and just being open with your audience is beneficial for musicians.
So what do you see as an artist? What changes do you see that need to be made in the industry?
I don't know. I think with the way the pandemic's gone, I think we're all just kind of figuring it out day by day. And, I'm starting to map out what 2021 looks for us. And, then the news comes out that a vaccine is on the way, and suddenly the potential for more opportunities opens, but at the same time, it might not. And I think the best advice anyone can do is just to pay attention to what's going on in their community, in, the province, in the country, and, use that to kind of gauge what is socially responsible and how they can use that to move forward. I think artists should be better compensated for digital streaming and things like that.
Spotify is fantastic for reachability, but to fund the artistry through streaming and getting paid what they get paid. I mean, Jimmy Page came out, what was it, this past week? It was in Guitar World that he said that artists are not getting compensated enough on Spotify, and it's true. I mean, it's really, really tough to make a living through music nowadays.
And I mean, everything that we do ends up costing so much.
Mm-hmm. And when you get your Spotify wrap up at the end of the year and you see how many hours of music you've streamed for $10 a month, it's kind of, being in a band makes you look at that and be like, is this truly okay? I mean, I used to continue to buy CDs when HMV and Sunrise Records were all around everywhere, but now it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
So what are the goals for the band going forward?
I still think that for me, music has always been for the love of playing on stage. As the band has grown, I guess my sort of expectations and realistic dreams have grown along with it. But 2 years ago, I guess maybe even last year, when we heard our song on 94.9, like our first major radio station come on right after Panama. For me, hearing my music on a major radio station was my top goal. And then we hit that and it was like, okay, what's next? What can we get to now? So for me right now, my sort of realistic long-term goal is definitely have the band be able to, just through the music and through what we make through our merch sales and music, be able to finance a trip to Europe. That would be my long-term band goal.
Yeah. I have to agree with Mike. It's definitely for the love of playing, the love of music, and performing to a room of people that are there to see you. And like,
I'm nothing like it.
I'm at the back of the stage, so like Mike gets the full effect. But when like people are there to see you and they're singing along,
and you can see that they're loving,
they're like, just having a good time, like. It's a feeling that's unlike any other. And, again, I'm just at the back of the stage. So I get like a sample of it when like I can kind of see out between the three of them. I think, like being able to fund like a successful tour of Canada, dipping into the States and heading over to Europe and being able to travel and see different places and maybe even perform in like historic sites, venues, places that the Stones and the Beatles were playing at in the UK, and heading out to LA and hitting up like the Rainbow Room and the Whiskey, and just these Troubadour. Venues that are the Troubadour, just these venues that have so much history and carry so much weight to them that
that would be there's nothing like feeding off a crowd and playing our music for people. It's amazing.
What is the best advice you have been given from somebody in the music industry?
Best advice that worked out.
Okay, you know what? We recorded a demo album with Scott LaFlamme in Boston, and he always told us to never compromise on the artistry. You can work with people on different things, but if you feel like advice for your music is not what your music needs, then don't take it. He was always about taking advice when it's given to you, but he was very firm in, this is your music. This is how you see your music. You're making it because this is who you are, and you should never compromise on the expression of yourself. And I think that's something, we've grown as songwriters, the four of us, since we've started in a band. And it's great that we've never changed our lineup at all. So the four of us have gotten very good at feeding off each other. But we have been very good and true to not compromising on how we think our music needs to be presented. And I would say that is probably the best advice that I've been given that I would pass on to somebody else.
I'm going to go with that one too.
So tell us about the newest release, To the Gallows. We're going to hear it next up.
To the Gallows is our latest single. It was recorded earlier this year, I guess early 2020, January 2020 at Phase One Studios with Murray Daigle. For us, it's this sort of experimental track that, funny enough, when we wrote it, none of us thought it would ever be a single, despite loving it. And, here it is. And I think it's an interesting and probably the most unique way to end off a crazy year like 2020 with a darker departure from our expected style.
You play with their lives like a game. It's so riddled with pain that it teases. All the lies in your cries, they tear up at me. But please, no, God, please, oh baby, I'll give you everything and want you, babe. Oh, I'm gonna rip all your tongue, yeah. Makes you weak, but to tame what I say lets the guilty ones play. So I'll drown them in hate, watch the little ones play on their grave. All your cries deep inside, to me you're nothing. But please, no, God, please, oh baby, I'll give you everything and want you, babe. Oh, I'm gonna rip all your tongue. You'll never tease again.
That was outstanding. Gerrod, you're a writer for Spill Magazine, and I must say, excellent reviews. You're also a teacher. How have those roles influenced or affected your music and the path that you're on right now?
um, I being a teacher is when I used to teach like classes at at a different community center and things like that, for me, that's when it really motivated me to take on more of a managing role in the band and kind of push us and push, I guess, our collective expectations of what was possible. Um, because I was, working these hours and I was like, oh man, like, wouldn't it be great to do more with the band than we're currently doing?
Yeah.
Um, that's kind of that. As a writer, it's definitely influenced again, like more on the business side, just being able to uh, look at professional PR, look at professional press kits, what draws writers like myself into wanting to listen to a band they've never heard of. And, on the musical side, like I get to listen to a lot of bands and artists that I never would have heard of otherwise. And, that's always very exciting.
What did you have to develop, try, or learn to create this release? Because there's something different. I can't put my finger on.
This song was basically a product of Cecil getting a brand new delay pedal, and just with wacky effects on it, he started to play that opening riff. And in the beginning of the song, you can hear it kind of build in the expression. And that sort of, for me, created this soundscape of eeriness and just almost terror. And it made me want to scream. And that is why at the beginning of the song, I have this explosive scream as if I'm trying to break out of something, because the song put me, or the riff he played put me on such edge. And the lyrics kept going in the same vein of creepiness and fantasy. And I think that it is all down to Cecil trying something weird with his delay pedal. And you know what? It worked, and it worked really well. And we've created this awesome soundscape to start the song off. And I think that was a big part of creating the different tune that To the Gallows is.
And what was the most challenging aspect of this release? Or actually, what's the most challenging aspect of making music during this current time?
Finding a good time to release it.
Absolutely.
Like
trying to find a time to record a music video in between all these lockdowns and different rule changes.
Yeah, and I mean, we're making sure that everything we do is with accordance of not only the laws but like health recommendations for our own sakes, for the sake of everyone that we work with, for the sake of anyone that would otherwise kind of come out to see us. And like I said earlier, we were supposed to release a second single back in like May, June, July, that sort of area. We were supposed to release Blow and then film a new music video right after and just go into it. And that never happened. And all throughout the summer, it was kind of, we were talking with Diego Del Rio, who has directed all of our music videos. And, we were talking with him about possible ideas for a music video and how we can do this, when we can do this, where we can do this, and how we can be safe. And, we kind of carved out a window in the fall to film another video. And, surely enough, like 2 weeks before the video shoot, a new set of restrictions came out. And, the video we had in plan for a completely different song was suddenly illegal.
Yeah.
we could not do it, and it was a very shout out to Mike on this one, because this video was his baby, and we're looking forward to bringing this video to life in the new year when we can. But we did not, again, going back to not compromising, we didn't want to compromise and do a similar video or a watered down video for that song. So we completely shifted gears To the Gallows. We did a new song, entirely different video concept, and we found a window of time that worked with the restrictions and things like that, and safely recorded the video.
That's amazing. And what is it like working with this genius?
Genius is a great way to express that. When we did our first video, Bills to Pay, we had a good idea that we wanted it to be an expression of what our live show is. And he captured it so well. And then he took it into a studio and was able to keep that live vibe around. And after doing that first one, for the other ones, we were basically like, Diego, this is the vibe we want our song to look like. And then he created the whole script and the whole lighting features. And I mean, the people that he works with and that he handpicks to collaborate with us on our videos are also just mind-boggling. When we did our music video for Blow, one of his associates, Kathleen, built us an LED logo of our chamber. And if you watch the Blow music video, you'll see it in almost every shot. And it just was so amazing. And it created such a really cool effect for the video. And I think that every video we do with him is something different, but he always is able to capture exactly what we're going for. And I'm really excited to work on this next project with him when we can.
Yeah, he definitely does put out videos that are different from each other. Actually, when I was looking at the video and saw that he had done it, I thought, I think this genius does all of their videos. But then I thought, no, they're so different. Let me check. Well, next up is the track of that amazing video, Blow. Up next.
She rides the wave, comes crashing down. Her body grips the moonlight. I need to know what it takes to move in her. She fits me like a glove, so tight. Let it blow, gotta breathe. Liquid love trying to hypnotize me. Feel the rush, wanna scream. Hit it hard, no, you'll never let it be. She gets herself up so high. She likes to set the speed. I map the way with my eye. I can take care of all your needs. Let it blow, gotta breathe. Liquid love trying to hypnotize me. Feel the rush, wanna scream. Hit it hard, no, you'll never let it be. Let it blow, gotta breathe. Liquid love trying to hypnotize me. Feel the rush, wanna scream. Hit it hard, no, you'll never let it be. And you burn what you break as the lights overtake all your mind, and you run. Let it blow, Wanna scream, hit it hard, but I'll never let it be.
So, what's next for you? We've talked a lot about the uncertainty in 2021, and there could be the video release when you get it moving. Are you just sort of in a staying pattern until all this blows over?
Well, we definitely we have music we need to put out there in 2021 that's already recorded. And having this opportunity during the pandemic to unfortunately not play a lot of shows has given us the ability to write quite a bit as well. So at some point, we're going to need to get our new written material recorded. I don't know if that's going to be able to happen in 2021, but we're definitely sitting on some stuff, and there's lots in the chamber that we're working on as well.
I love that. I love that. Actually, I do. I love your name. It's amazing. So I'm gonna wrap this up. Gerrod and Mike, thank you so much for coming out. Guys, where is the best place to follow the band, buy, download, stream your music?
Everything is up on the website. The website is www.oitcband.com. So it's just our initials and then band.com, OITC band. Everything up there in terms of links to our social media is there, streaming services, downloads, merch, everything's up there. But we're very active on our Facebook and our Instagram pages. And again, you could actually just search up at OITC Band and you'll find us.
Well, thank you again for joining us, and thank you for listening, those out there. If the studio energy is any sign of the experiencing seeing them live, One in the Chamber is a top one to see on a list when things open up. Well, thank you all for joining the Buzzer Pod. Next episode, Friday, January the 15th, we have musician, songwriter, and our indie artist, Baywood, and talent manager and music publisher, Patrick Hunsey. Both are based out of LA and putting out great music. So see you at the pod next episode. Cheers.